Good morning, and apologies for being a minute or two later than anticipated, in between trying to get through to doctor surgeries and other things. It just puts you all behind a bit. But here we are now, and I have put my headphones on today in the hope that that will give us a better sound. Do come on and say hello if you are joining me live. I know that this is Tuesday morning rather than Monday morning, but unfortunately yesterday I had to go along to a funeral, so couldn't be with you, so I've come in today instead. So welcome. If this is the first time you have joined me, my name is Helen Jennings. I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator based here in the UK, and I do try my very best to come on twice a week and do a bit of crafting with you. Doesn't always work. Obviously, life gets in the way sometimes, but here we are for now. So I am going to bring up some of my screens and tell you a little bit more about me and what I can help you with, hopefully. So this is where you will find my website, www.loveaduckie.co.uk. And over on my website, you'll find blog posts, you'll find class links, links to my shop, all of those sorts of things. And if you are looking for me anywhere on social media, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Instagram, whether it is Pinterest, you will find me in all of those places. Under the name of Love-a-Duckie, Morning Molly. So do go and check me out. Do come and join along and join in with the fun, join our little family of crafters and craft along with us. So that is where you'll find my website. Obviously, it is now sort of April. We're sort of creeping up. What are we? 12th of April now. We are hurtling towards the period when we are going to be launching a new catalogue. Now, my box of catalogues will arrive either today or tomorrow, hopefully. So if you would like to be the recipient of one of those catalogues, then do get in touch with me, and I will, if you're here in the UK, I will make sure that you get one of those beautiful new catalogues with all of the beautiful new goodies in it. So obviously there are some returning favourites, but there are lots of new things in there as well. So if you would like one of those catalogues, do get in touch. If you you can head over to my website and go /request-a-catalogue, or if you look at the contact tab on the top, as you hover over that, you'll get a drop down to request a catalogue. So just fill in the form there and I will send one out to you, or message me any other way. And I will get one to you if you are here in the UK. If you are seeing already on YouTubes and Facebooks and those sorts of things, lots of lovely new things, and you already have a wish list of things that you would like to have from the new catalogue, then do consider getting your starter kit and joining the family, because with your starter kit, you pay £99, but you get to choose £130 worth of product of your choice. And that can include anything off of our current pre-order list. That isn't everything in the catalogue, but it is the pre-order list. And alongside my catalogues, I'm expecting my pre-order either today or tomorrow. So some beautiful things in there, beautiful in colours, lots that you're going to want. So yeah, do consider joining the family. There are so many more benefits other than just being able to get things earlier. That's one of the benefits, but actually the biggest benefit is the people that you meet, not only here in the UK, but all around the world. So yeah, do consider that. Do consider joining the family. And the other thing, this week, yesterday, saw the start of my 28-day craft room spring clean challenge. I don't know whether any of you saw my video, the before I start video. Of the chaos that is my craft room, but I have set myself a 28-day challenge. Yesterday was day one. I sorted out all my little bits of oddments of cardstock and put them away, and sorted out my cardstock drawers, took out the current the about to retire in colour packs, ready to be able to slip in the new in colours when they arrive. So that was day one complete. So do join me in this spring clean, this craft room spring clean challenge. Yeah, it would be. Let's get to mid-May being all sparkly and bright, ready to craft the rest of the year away. So let us take that out and let's bring in our downward camera. And let's have a little think about what we're going to do today. Quick slurp of water. Going to bring up, just while I'm slurping my water, let me bring up my footer piece that will give you the April host code. So if you are shopping with me here in the UK, obviously you'll find links to my shop on my website, which is at the bottom there, and there is my April host code. So if you're shopping with me in April 2022, you'll see the host code at the bottom of the screen. If it's not April 2022, if it's any other month, you can always find my host codes on my website, and you can always find them in the header at the top of my Facebook page as well. So today I thought we would look a little bit at some of the products that are not retiring. You are going to be able to get them in the new catalogue, but what you're not going to be able to do is get them at a 10% discount, which means if you want them, it's well worth looking out for them now and get that 10% discount before the end of April. So one of the bundles is this Friends Are Like Seashells bundle. I'm going to move the embossing folder. The embossing folder is carrying over as well, but that is not currently part of the bundle anyway, but it is carrying over. So you are going to still be able to get the embossing folder. So the Friends Are Like Seashells are, as the name would suggest, lots and lots of seashells. Sand, some really lovely greetings. And this one gives you this big die that cuts out lots of these seashells, but it also coordinates, if I turn it round, with this embossing folder. So you are able to die cut this piece, stamp your shells in place, and then emboss them. So it is really great little set. So that is going to be carrying over. You are still going to be able to get these dies. You are still going to be able to get this stamp set. You are still going to be able to get the embossing folder, but what you won't get is 10% off the stamp and die bundle. So as I say, if you want that, well worth getting. Now, the next one that we've got that we're going to have a bit of a play with today is the Hydrangea Haven. Again, you are going to be able to get the stamp set. You are going to be able to get the dies. You're not going to be able to get them as a 10% off bundle. So if you haven't yet got them and you want them, it is worth getting them before the end of April. And they're two sets, both beautiful sets, but we've not played with them for a little while, so seems like a good excuse today. So where shall we start? I think we'll start with the seashells. And I think I'm going to make myself a card base. So a tent fold card base. Words eluded me then. Happens frequently. So here we have our tent base card in basic white. I'm going to get some Sahara sand. Seems very appropriate, doesn't it, for a seashell? Seashell themed. Thank you, Elaine. It is Elaine that has challenged me to clean my craft room. So yes, day one complete. Let me get some Sahara sand cardstock. There we go, and we're going to trim that to 10 centimeters by 14.4 to make a nice little mat to go on the top of our card just there. And I'm going to emboss that with our seashells embossing folder. So it is a 3D one. So that does mean we need our number 1 base plate and our number 4 embossing plate. Clonk clonk in the background as I open up my machine. So let's pop that on that. And let's run that through there. There we have that beautiful embossed background. I think I'm just going to get some Sahara sand ink. And we'll just give that a little bit of a rub over the top with our blending brush just to help those seashells pop a little bit. Necessarily want it to be too dark, but just give it a little bit of a pop. And the top of that embossed detail will pick up the ink and the background not so much as we tickle our brush over the top. We'd have wanted to stand it out a bit more. We'd have gone in with a darker colour, some soft suede or something. But I do just want that to be fairly gentle in the background there. Okay, so that's just helped it to pop out a little bit more. Hello, Jane. So we'll have our seashell background in there. And let's find ourselves some basic white card. We'll pop the top on lid on our ink pad. And I'm going to cut a panel. I'm going to go 9.5 centimetres. And if we're going to keep that proportionately with the background, I should have officially made it 9.4, but we're not going to worry about that too much. So it would normally be 14.9, 13.9, 12.9, 11.9, 10.9, 9.9. That's 5.5 centimetres smaller. So 5.5 from 10.5 is 5, isn't it? Is my maths right? Is that proportionally about right? It looks it, doesn't it? I'll take that. I'm actually going to trim this back down, round down just a smidge and make it 13.9 by 9.5. I'm just deciding which side to take it from, because I think we'll have a matte underneath there and a matte underneath there. I'll reserve judgment on what colour that is going to be. Let's take our stamp here, our piece of cardstock and our stamps. You can see where I've done some masking with these stamps and left my masks in the case. Should we have this big shell and possibly this large shell. And then we might stamp ourselves a couple of small shells. And some seaweed. And perhaps a starfish. Pick and choose. Let's have that little bit of seaweed as well. So we're going to start with this big shell here. It will actually come this way because obviously the stamps go the other way. Morning, Div. Oh, that's absolutely fine. I'm a whole day late. A whole day late plus a bit more, so. But the wonder of social media and these videos and things is it really doesn't matter. You can always catch up later. Now, what colour shall we have for our shells? I don't think I necessarily want them to be, we don't necessarily have to go with the colours that you'd find them in nature. Let's make up our own. I'm going to actually pick out some pastel-y colours, I think. I don't know which of these we will use. I've got some Pear Pizzazz, some Blushing Bride and some Pool Party. And I've also picked out some Fresh Freesia and Pale Papaya. So what shall we go with this large one? Might go Fresh Freesia actually. Let's ink that up. Just going to grab myself a piercing mat. It seems to have gone, oh no, here it is. I was going to say it seems to have gone walkies, but I've just found it. It has a brass butterfly on it. Let's take him off. So obviously these stamps are quite well loved now. Let's stamp that large shell just there. I think that had a bit of colour left on it, but actually I quite like that. Let us find our mask that I have previously created. If you haven't previously created a mask, you just need to stamp it onto a piece of post-it note or masking paper or whatever you happen to have. Let's come in with this tall shell now, and I think we'll go Blushing Bride with that one. Let's ink that up. I'm going to rest that so it's sort of sticking up the top here. Don't want it to come all the way up. Yes, I think I do. We'll have it coming all the way up nearly to that corner. Let's bring in, leave that mask in place. Let's bring in another mask. So again, just, these are actually all over post-it notes. Bring in some of the seaweed. That one has actually lost some of its sticky. Let's have some seaweed. Going to bring another bit in there where that's over stamped. We'll have some down here. We'll have some coming up here. Perhaps a piece coming across. We've got this other little seaweed here. I think I might come in with some pale papaya for that one. We'll just have a little bit coming down here as well. So it looks very peculiar with those masks on it. Let's have a reveal and see what it looks like underneath. Ooh, that's quite pretty, isn't it? Surprisingly pretty considering how it looked on the top. And then we've got a little shell just here. That has just dropped onto the floor and picked up some fluffy bits. Let's get rid of those. Let's bring in a little A block. Might actually come back to the Sahara sand for these ones. Let's bring in this basic white. To cut out a couple of those, and I have got a little die here that will cut those out for me. Actually, that one is in that die just there. see if we can manage to cut that out. I think we should be able to. And then we will do a star as well. And again, I think I'll do that in... No, I think I'm going to go pale papaya with the star. So there are some sort of background blobby stamps that you can add in your colour in the background with this stamp set. So almost like a two-step stamping. I don't feel as if they particularly need it, but this little star could do with a bit of colour. So I'm just going to ink that up with pale papaya and just add a bit of colour over the top. So let's die cut our star, and then we'll die cut these two little shells. And I think they're going to work quite well in the gaps. So I'm going to line up my star first. And run that through. And here he is. And then let's take that out. We need these little shells. So I may just trim that piece of cardstock so I can move it around where I need it to be. Because obviously I need to keep the die fairly straight. Which one shall I cut first? That one, because that's not going to interfere with that one. So line that up. And obviously I could have cut out lots of shapes. You could cut out all of those shapes and then line them up in your Stamparatus to ensure that you hit the spot. And then you can, of course, emboss them with the embossing folder. Actually, you can tell it's been a little while since I've used this file because obviously it doesn't cut them all out exactly. It just cuts around them. So actually I'm going to need to fussy cut them anyway. But that's not a hardship. They're not difficult to fussy cut. So yes, what it cuts you out is the large piece that then fits into your embossing folder, but they are very easy to snip the individual shells apart. So you can either use it as one large mat that sits on the back of your project or individual. Morning, Wendy. Morning, Glenda. Right, there we are. So we have some little shells just there that we're going to pop on. We're going to need a sentiment. And I think I'm also going to bring in, we have a little spotty stamp. Now, anybody that follows me for any length of time will know that I love anything that gives me spots or blobs. So let's use the little spots and let's add in some pool party type bubbles. I think we'll just add some all over in that gap so it sort of gives the impression of bubbly water. So if we come back down here, we have our embossed background, and now we have our mat on the top. I think we'll perhaps go pool party. So let me grab a bit of some pool party. I'm going to cut a 14.4 by 10 mat, so whatever your first size mat is, if you're using imperial cardstock, that would be 4 inches by 5 1/4. Let's have that sitting under there. And then we're going to make a little mat for this. And this was 5 by 9 1/2, wasn't it? It was indeed. So we should want it 5 1/2 by 10. Let's go 5 1/2. Let's go 10. We still need to decide on our sentiment. What shall we have? Happy birthday to my beautiful friend. I'm so happy I found you. Wishing the very best. You are unique and completely amazing. For you, thank you. Love you to the beach and back. Friends are like seashells. You collect them along the way. I do love that one. So I think we might go for a friends are like seashells. Oh, just pinged my blobs on the floor. Let's take this piece of basic white and some pool party ink. I will ink that up. And give that a stamp. I'm going to grab my larger scissors. No, they're not Stampin' Up ones. They are the ones if I'm cutting things like this. I tend to use. I'm cutting something out. It's definitely snips all the way. What I want to do is I want to come down there. And I might actually then bring in my snips and this one cut round. to give a sort of shadowy effect. I think you might need a little bit of oddment, a pool party card, and I have those. And they're now all back sorted into their little envelopes. I don't know how you I obviously get lots of card scraps. So I have a little Polly Pocket. They're starting to get a bit loved, but it doesn't matter. They're doing the job. I have a Polly Pocket for every colour. So every colour, and I sort of keep them in colour families. So I've got in one section, I've got subtles. In another section, I've got brights. I mean, for you, it might be that you could keep them all in an envelope or something, or in a box full of subtles. And I think we all say these things in different ways, but that's how I do mine. I'm going to add this to a piece of pool party. Let's chop this off. I'm going to cut back round the edge of this one to give it a pool party border. And then let's bring in my bigger scissors for this one, because we want it to be. You can use your trimmer, it's whatever works for you. So now we've got our sentiment split. And I think I'm going to bring in some linen thread. I'll tie myself a linen thread bow. Grab my ribbon scissors. And let's start assembling. Let me move those to one side for a minute. Hello, Michelle. Adelaide. What's the weather like for you girls out in Australia? I'm actually absolutely boiling hot at the moment, but I think it has nothing to do with the weather. Far more to do with an inner thermometer than an outer one. There we go. We must have a road sweeper outside. It's being very noisy. So there's our embossed layer added to our pool party layer, added to our card front. Now I'm going to take our stamped masked layer. And we'll add that to our smaller pool party layer. And I think we'll take a glue dot. It's autumn there, yes. Well, we're sort of, yeah, some days we get quite warmish spring weather. Then it's really cold, quite a cold wind we've had this week. So we're up and down a little bit. So we've put on that bow. I'm going to add these with some, we'll come in with some mini dimensionals, I think. I'd forgotten how lovely this stamp set was. You see, that's it. We wrapped up with all the lovely new things. Oh, excellent. Oh, frost tomorrow. Yeah, we're still getting frosts. Let's add in those little shells just there. And I think we'll raise that up onto some dimensionals. Let's see if we can find a few bigger ones. It's quite nice to have a bit of, Michelle says she likes the colour combinations. It's quite nice to have a bit of a play with colour with the shells, isn't it? I mean, you could go bright. I'm not sure that you necessarily want to go bright, but the pastel colours are quite pretty, aren't they? So I think we'll have a couple of mini dimensionals on the back there, for down the bottom. And then, where's our top bit gone? Here he is. Friends are like seashells. And we'll have that coming in over the top there. It's rather pretty. I am liking that. It's always good when you do something and think, yeah, actually, I like that. Never mind what anybody else thinks. I think I'm just going to come in with a couple of pearls. That seems very appropriate for a seaside. Just have a few little pearls sort of scattered. There you are. Let's have you up here. That serves me right for not using my take a pic tool. Stuck to my finger rather than the card. There. So you've got the texture in the background of that 3D embossing. You've got your masking on the top with those pretty pastel colours. Those layers on the top. So rather a cute little card and perfect to send to a friend just because. It doesn't say birthday, so it could just be a just because a friend has done something special for you today, or just because they're there. And in actual fact, I know exactly where that card is going. Isn't it good when you have a reason to send a card? Always you don't always make a card with a reason in mind. Well, I don't make cards necessarily with reasons in mind, but it's quite good when you get to the end of it and go, I know just where that is going. Right, let's stretch over and grab a Stamp and Scrub and some spritzy stuff. And let's give that a bit of a clean, because we're going to swap over and let's have a bit of a quick play with some hydrangeas. I will leave those in there and clean the rest of those stamps when we've finished. I might hang on to my fresh freesia actually for my hydrangeas. So hydrangeas, another stamp set that's you've got the stamped images, and you've also got like these blobby watercolor background images that you can add in color to. So yeah, so similar to the seashells in that respect. Another stamp set that you can currently get bundled, but you won't be able to get bundled after the end of April. So if you don't yet have it and you want it, get it now. So let's have a look. We'll go fresh freesia. Thinking. Always thinking. I'm going to get some fresh freesia cardstock and some Pear Pizzazz cardstock, I do believe. Also picked up some Highland Heather ink on my way back. So that's a pretty combination, isn't it? Fresh freesia, Highland Heather, and Pear Pizzazz. One of these days I will have had all of the ink pads in the new ones. But as I said, I think I've said before, when it's a choice of where you spend your money, yeah, the new stamp pads win every time. Okay. So we may go with another white card base. We will see. But I'm going to grab these stamp sets. So this is the hydrangea stamp that has all the detail in. And then we've got these pieces that give the background colour. So you can colour in with. Let's take ourselves a bit of basic white card. It's looking as if it's a bit battered, but we will avoid the smidge. We won't waste the card. We will work round the smidge. Let's pop our hydrangea on there, and I'm actually going to stamp it in the Highland Heather, so a slightly darker colour for our detail. So there's our stamped image. I'm going to come in with the watercolour background pieces. Now obviously these are really useful to use for any of your projects. If you need a watercolour blob in the background, there's no reason why you can't reach for these. You haven't only got to use them with your hydrangeas. So I'm going to ink this up with fresh freesia. And let's come over the top there. Perhaps should have put my mat underneath there. Hopefully, yeah, that's fine. The fact that we've got the paper underneath has worked. We could have perhaps come up a little bit. That's one of the the disadvantages of not being able to see directly over the top. Now I'm going to take the leaf fill sort of watercolory stamp just here. I'm going to ink that up with some Pear Pizzazz. do my best. Not a bad shot. So there we have quite a sort of watercolory look to our hydrangea. Really quite pretty. We have a die that's going to cut it out for us. So let's do that. So just lining that up. There we are. We have our hydrangea. Now, want to have a bit of a play with this die just here. I think what I'm going to do, let's have a think. Playing around with a bit of colour. What are we going to have? Yeah, I think I want a white background. So let's go Pear Pizzazz card base. I'm going to cut this in half. Score in half, whatever that means for you, wherever you are in the world. For us, it's just a smidge under 14.9 and 10.5 the other way. I'm going to cut a fresh freesia mat to sit on the top of there. Like that. And then we'll have a basic white mat on the top of there. So that needs to be 9.5 by 13.9. And then going to take a strip of fresh freesia. I think I'm going to make it, I'll go 2.5 centimetres. I'm going to get a similar sort of strip out of my oddments of Highland Heather. So that's long enough. Yes, that will be fine. What I'm going to do is let's cut this to 9.5 centimetres long. I'm going to cut flowers out of the centre. Now, I don't necessarily want to cut each end, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to lay that there across the centre. I'm going to take some washi tape . going to centre that. So the cut lines on this flowers don't quite reach the end there. And the cut line on that flower don't quite reach the end there. Let's bring in baby machine. Move these pieces out of the way for a minute. In a minute. It may go horribly wrong. Excuse me. There. Do that of the plate. So it is not going to cut this piece. It's going to go so that I possibly will have to snip the last piece with my scissors. Rather than risk it cutting it. So let's see. Fingers crossed, drum roll. To take those little flowers just there and flick them onto my mat in case I want them. Just turning this over to take it a little bit further this way, perhaps to about there. Just want to go through. Come on. Doesn't want to take it. Which isn't quite right. It has actually cut it a bit further for me, enough I think that I'm going to be able to judge where I want that to be. So what I didn't want is I didn't want to cut my piece of cardstock into two separate pieces, which I haven't done. Let's just carefully peel off our washi tape. There's another little flower. And let's come in with our snips. And let's just snip the end on this little flower. Bit fingers and thumbs this just there. Right. So now we have that little band. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some flowers from this one. Now this one I'm not fussy about because I just want the flowers. So what this strip gives you, as well as a hole in your cardstock, I could have just cut a bigger piece and cut it down. Might have been easier, trying to be clever. But I've now got all of these little flowers. Now comes the question, am I just going to use one or am I going to go with two? Oh, exciting. Right, let's bring back in our mats. We've got our strip of card. We have our little flowers that I'm going to place inside. I'm going to curl those up a little bit. We have our hydrangea. So where are we going to put that? Down there somewhere, I think. Let's start putting this together. Bring in some fresh freezer ribbon. Somewhere I've got another Tombow. Let's transfer for a minute if this one's going to be playing Silly Devils. We'll have our white mat there. Then we will stick this to our card base. Yeah, I have seen other people say about that. I think it just was because I was trying so hard not to cut that end piece. I think I made it too hard for myself, really. Let's bring in, keep knocking my camera. Let's bring in our hydrangea. I generally don't have any problems with my mini cutting machine at all. And I do think I was confusing it a little. I'm going to bring this strip in and add this strip with some Tombow, but I think I'll add the flowers in. With a little bit. Going to bring this little ball tool, that's something completely different, ball tool end, and just give those flowers a little bit of a squidge. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now comes the question. Do we have the paler ones as well? Why not, as we've got them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To just put a spot of Tombow in there, and then spot underneath. 2, 3. Here comes number 4. Concentrating in the job in hand. Oh, done that one the wrong way round. Let's bring in another Highland Heather one, or else it's going to stick to everything. So these do have some embossing on details on them as well. Wouldn't have been better bad if that had been the middle one. We could have swapped the middle one round in colour. It's gone very whirry. That's because I've got my hand under the camera. It's focusing on my hand and not on the... And one last one. I've got a spare little Highland Heather one here. You would have if it didn't flick off. Let's give you a squidge. Add that in there. And there's a whole little row of blossom. And this rather nice little label die here. So Love You will fit in there. What else have we got? You are capable of amazing things. Let's have that one. Gather up some Highland Heather ink. Stamp that onto a piece of basic white card. No wonder I can't see the die. I've laid it on the top. Let's just run this through my machine. I've put down my other plate somewhere very safe. There it is. Love the stitch detail on here. Now, we just want some ribbon under there. Let's find my ribbon scissors. trim off those edges. Going to put down a couple of little glue dots, one just there and one just there. I'll lay that ribbon over the top. We'll pop a couple of little mini dimensionals on the back of our greeting panel. Little slithers of ribbon just there. I have got a glue mark just here, so let's get rid of that. Here I have got some of the pearls, pastel pearls. We'll have a few of those round and about. There. Just feel as if that needs something else. So I've got a fresh freesia stamping blend just here. I'm going to add some splatters just because I can. That's better. Okay, so 2 bundles that are going to be disappearing very, very, very soon. The stamp sets are going to be available. The dies are still going to be available, but you're not going to be able to get your 10% off. So if you have loved these, you haven't got these, and you want to get them at 10% off, then get them in your basket before the end of April. So I hope you've enjoyed those. It is actually Good Friday on Friday, but I am planning on still coming in, unless anything, any exciting plans crop up that I'm unaware of. But hopefully we should be here on Friday to do a little bit more crafting. But other than that, have a lovely week, and I will see you all. Very, very soon. Have fun in your craft rooms.